Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, what happens when you do everything right? You book this amazing cruise, your amazing trip, you have travel insurance, you've done everything. Oh, by the way, it has evacuation insurance on it, so everything should be good, right? And then when you get there and something happens and you find out there's still problems. So I've been following this story of a lady, I believe her name is Denise Hammond, and she is on a month-long trip out in Asia, up and currently in Indonesia. Well, she booked the cruise, she's on this trip, and she has travel insurance, and she has evacuation insurance. She's relatively spry, and unfortunately, she slipped and fell. Doesn't say if it was on the cruise ship or if it was on land, but she slipped and fell, broke her hip and her elbow. So she must have took a really good tumble. And on the cruise ship, they looked after her for about 3 days until they got to a cruise port. And then they said, okay, this is the kind of surgery you're gonna need, etc. And they transported her to a hospital in Indonesia. Okay, tragically, everything's done. The insurance is there. The insurance is more than willing to, they understand what happened. They're on board with them. They've been in contact with them. Everything seems great. Then they find out that the hospital themselves say, we don't think we can do this kind of surgery. We're not very adept at hip surgery and things like that. And so she actually hasn't been taken care of for over 3 days. And these can be, life-altering operations if it doesn't happen in time, right? That can cause more and more severe effects afterwards when these things don't get done. And so they think they may need to transport her to a more sophisticated hospital, a more modern, up-to-date hospital, and they're trying to get her to Singapore, where Singapore, of course, has some of the best hospitals in the area, for sure, in that whole region. But the cost to get there would be about $40,000 or so, which sounds like that shouldn't be, I have evacuation insurance and I have that. But apparently the insurance she has some gaps in what qualifies for evacuation. And so they're trying to work out what those gaps are, and so that money has not kicked in yet. And in the meantime, she hasn't been transferred and she hasn't been able to go and get the surgery she needs. Wow. So I really wish news coverage would do a little better job in doing some questioning. Because my first question would be, where was the injury? Was it on the ship or was it on a shore excursion? Number one question. Number two, was this insurance purchased through the cruise line or was this independent insurance? Because that can make a difference, right? Usually the cruise line insurance that you book has enough medical evacuation that covers pretty much everything. Remember the gentleman who was stuck, who was terrified of flying, and he was stuck at a hospital, needed to be transferred, and he didn't want to fly. They actually sent a nurse and a doctor in a private plane to pick him up, sedate him. That was all covered under insurance. So a simple transfer of, from one hospital to another because that hospital is not able to do the operation that this person needs, that sounds like it should be a very simple transfer, right? Yes, it costs $40,000. Remember, I've told you very many times, if you need to be evacuated, that money can bankrupt people, can absolutely bankrupt people. Well, here's one of those examples, $40,000 just to get to the hospital, and then what happens if she needs another evacuation to get back home? So that's how the money adds up. So I'm wondering, what insurance policy doesn't cover something as simple as a transfer from a hospital to another hospital? That's a hospital that's ill-equipped to operate, in the procedures. And you can't really blame the cruise lines. They don't know what medical facilities every hospital has across the world, right? They go to the first place they can that has an actual hospital, because a cruise ship can't do anything. They can't operate, unless it's a life-saving emergency. They might try, but they're not going to, work on your hip and things like that. They're not going to, have heart surgery on board. They're not doing any of that stuff. So they send you to a hospital, and you kind of hope for the best, depending on where you are, right? Depending on what country you're in, what kind of medical treatment you're going to get. Like if you're in the Caribbean, you're not too far from home. But if you're in Asia or someplace like that, you're much further away, or in Iceland or in Greenland, you're much further away from the possible medical care that you need. I'm just really curious, what insurance policy was there? Was this a private? I went out and got my own insurance because it was cheaper. Because I've never heard of a cruise line's insurance not covering a simple transfer to a new hospital. And I've covered many, many insurance stories on this channel alone since I've started it. And they've all been, either you had insurance or the insurance was looking after people, right? So I don't understand where this travel insurance is, the hiccup is, why there is nothing going on, and why they just can't seem to get this person to a hospital who needs the treatment. Meanwhile, the daughter is back home trying to look after her mom, trying to make all these phone calls, acting as a mediator between the cruise company, the hospital, the insurance company, and her mom. And she's thousands and thousands of miles away. Of course, you feel helpless when you're trying to do all these things. And just in case that the insurance doesn't come through, they have started a GoFundMe page. And it just, I'm curious. I don't understand. Now, I will leave a link down below to the GoFundMe page if you want to go and follow up on it, if you would like to help this family out. It just, like I said, you do what you think everything is right. You're on this great, amazing month-long cruise vacation and trip, and you go and you have you have your travel insurance. It does have evacuation insurance, and still there are issues getting you the help that you need. I just wish they would have told us where they got the insurance, because I know the news media doesn't want to say this company is doing this, but at least say privately or through the cruise line. That would have been a big help as well. Well, I hope you appreciate this update. Again, it's another thing that can just happen, and it's insurance. Even when you do everything right, it's amazing, right? What can happen even when you do everything right. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.